Hello, class of 2021. As part of our second virtual graduation ceremony, we have created these UWC graduation social media stickers and filters to share on your Instagram and Facebook stories. It's as simple as clicking on your story, snap a pic or create a video, select the sticker icon, search for UWC Grad, select your GIF. Most importantly, tag UWC, hashtag UWC Grad 2021 and share. We cannot wait to see your fun UWC virtual graduation moments. Congratulations on your well-deserved success.
There's a university at the tip of Africa that's right at the top of its game. It's a place with a proud history and legacy, pulled upwards by a future that will not be tamed.
It brims over with powerful ideas that again and again lead to potent action and real change. Since when? 6 decades long, it's been home to groundbreakers, change makers, planet shakers, and it's still going strong.
It's the home of forward-thinking higher learning, homegrown pride and a story still unfurling, independent thought which sparks innovation, mindful global citizens and their perpetual liberation.
Today, this is my home, my community, my springboard, my zone, like iron sharpening iron. Here, my potential is mined, my mind is refined, and my future redefined.
It's our time to learn from our past and our histories, to be the leaders of tomorrow's victories.
It's our time to stand up and step into our light.
To rise with Africa and all the world by our side.
Gaudiamus igitur, juvenes dum sumus. Gaudiamus igitur, juvenes dum sumus. Post iucundam juventutem, post molestam senectutem, nos habebit humus, nos habebit humus.
I declare this graduation ceremony of the University of the Western Cape duly constituted. Ndiyazisa ngasemthethweni lenhlangano ye-University yeNtshona Kapa. Ek verklaar hierdie vergadering van die Universiteit van Wes-Kaapland as behoorlik geconstitueer. Professor Pretorius, academic staff and students, graduands and guests. Today is a beautiful day for the university as we celebrate the achievements of our students and their academic success. My warmest congratulations to you and all those who have supported you on the journey. Graduations are special for me, however they are held, but still I miss the excitement and joyful sounds of a graduation on campus. To see the pride and hear the ululating of parents makes me proud of being associated with the university. And I look forward to when we can gather in the main hall again. As you prepare for the next chapters in your lives, be it entering the world of work or continuing with your studies, it is an appropriate moment to reflect on the society in which we live. Just recently, we celebrated Freedom Day, the day in which we were formally liberated from apartheid, and when your parents and I patiently queued to cast our votes. That day was unlike any other day, and you just have to look at photographs of the 27th April 1994 to see the hope and aspiration on the faces of millions. But what has that freedom brought us? Yes, there have been many improvements to the lives of South Africans. Many have decent homes for the first time, electricity and running water. Children have access to education and basic health services, and millions have been given social grants. We know, however, that our country's road to freedom has not ended. Instead, it is a long one, filled with many hurdles and challenges, and some that are completely unnecessary and entirely our own making. Why, for instance, are we still described as the most unequal country on earth? It is not because we haven't had the opportunity for redress, but rather that we have squandered them because of poor leadership, a lack of coherent direction, and perhaps the conviction to make things right. We listened to the evidence at the Zondo Commission of Inquiry, and we are disillusioned at the wrongdoing of so many. We open a newspaper, and yet another story of wastage and corruption greets us. If we didn't know better, we could be convinced that nothing else happens in this beautiful country apart from civil servants and their leaders looting the state. How do we say enough is enough? And that we want South Africa set on a path of transformation? It starts with all of us and with what I call the new struggle. The new struggle is not like the old struggle against apartheid. It is rather a struggle which aims to reflect the corrupt values which we inherited from colonialism and apartheid. Narrow self-interest, callous selfishness, and the pursuit of personal gain, of power, status, and material wealth, regardless of the consequences for other people or our planet. The new struggle requires you, the new generation of leaders, to be diligent in how you go about living your lives. It means that you need to hold our leaders accountable for their actions, not to turn a blind eye to corruption wherever you find it. Whether it is in the traffic officer who expects a bribe or the civil servant who asks for money for a cool drink to facilitate an application process. It also means caring for others. And if you have the means to lend a hand, even if your own struggles are not yet over, it does mean looking beyond your own needs and learning that compassion and kindness have an important place in our lives. People of faith, no matter what particular faith, have in common the mandate to do right, seek justice, and defend the oppressed. We are dangerously close to normalizing our inequality and the negative practices that are now so deeply entrenched in our society. This cannot be allowed to happen. And I urge all of you today to take up the baton for a fairer, more equitable society in which everyone can feel that they truly belong. As I have said, South Africa has a long way ahead to being truly free. But I believe that if we all play our part as good citizens of this great nation, we will move closer to attaining real freedom. As graduates of UWC, you have a definite role to play. This university has a history steeped in a belief in social justice, equality, and freedom. That is the DNA, and I hope that as you leave UWC, you will take a piece of that DNA with you. And in this sad and difficult time we are going through, let me add one further plea. When vaccines become available, please go for your jab and encourage others to be vaccinated too. I congratulate you again on your achievements and know that you will make us all proud of your continuing growth and achievement. And I congratulate and thank your parents and loved ones for supporting you, and the academic staff and the university also for enabling you. Thank you. Well done.
Good day to everyone watching this message from me, Eusebius McKaiser. I'm an author, a broadcaster, and a political analyst, and I'd like to thank the university for the distinct honor of asking me to address this year's class of graduates. First and foremost, congratulations on absolutely every single achievement that you are embracing as you recognize this moment of academic excellence in yourself and everything that you have overcome. There is some good news and there's also some bad news, and I don't know which you want first. Perhaps let's start with the bad news first. As someone who has been at university before, and as you can see from my graying beard, can no longer be classified as young, the bad news is that your best years are already behind you. You will look back on your university days and wish that you had never been self-deprecating about your body, thinking that you were perhaps too fat or too thin. And you will recognize that being unburdened by bonds that you did not have to pay, children you did not have to put through school, that really you should have perhaps participated even more vigorously in every extramural, every opportunity to have a respite from the library and from every other assignment that maybe were burying you while you were a student. But those memories, to get to the good news, those memories of life as a student at the University of Western Cape will also be your guide for the next phase of your life. You will draw on the resilience that you had to display in order to complete a project, an assignment, a term paper, successfully prepare for the exams, and one of the most important characteristics of a UWC graduate, and by definition, the fact that you are watching this video, means that you have the ability to project manage successfully to completion a goal, which is exactly how you need to approach the next phase of your life as well. Whether it be in corporate, whether it be a civil society organizational space that perhaps you will be joining, or maybe an entrepreneurial journey that you will embark on. The other bit of good news that will outweigh the fact that the best years of your 20s and maybe 30s are behind you is that the bonds of friendship, the connections that you have established as a student will serve you well. I went to Rhodes University. I also spent some time at Oxford University, and I can tell you, even though I was a nerd, even though I immersed myself in academic analytical philosophy and in legal theory, and the foundation that I set have become the basis in terms of content for my career as a writer and as a broadcaster and as a political analyst, that ultimately what I cherish the most, especially the further the journey in time is between where I'm at now and my days as a student, are the friendships. I often reference them back nostalgically. I often draw on them. Many of my friends from university are the ones that I can rely on in moments of existential crisis, in moments where you need business advice, where you scaffold one another. That is how strong the bonds are with what you have experienced. But that's all for the future. In this moment, I think it is very important to simply allow yourself to be fully present, to appreciate what it is that you've achieved, the sacrifices that you've made. Maybe you're a first-time graduate in your family. Maybe you're the first one to even finish high school, as was the case in my family for me. And I hope that you will be enormously proud of those achievements, and not to be coy, and to take in every single bit of praise and celebration, and allow yourself self-love and self-recognition that what you have achieved was absolutely incredible, because to complete post-secondary qualifications not only is the rare opportunity for way too many South Africans and Africans from the rest of the continent, but in addition to that, it is a difficult set of goals that you had been asked to set and all to successfully accomplish. So congratulations to every single graduate. I wish you the best for the years ahead. Enjoy the moment of celebration, and remember that for the next couple of years and the next phase of your life, you will be taking not just memories, but a beautiful academic as well as a set of life skill foundations that you had set yourself while you have been at one of the best universities in South Africa. All the best.
Chancellor Archbishop Makgoba, Deputy Vice Chancellors and Deans, our honored guests, the graduands, colleagues from the academic and professional sectors, the Student Representative Council, and other guests joining us virtually. This has always been one of my favorite campus events, walking across the square to the main hall and seeing the excitement on the faces of our graduates and their loved ones. Then inside the hall, looking over a sea of faces and knowing just how much this ceremony means to all of you. You are my heroes today because you have taken up a weighty challenge and you have succeeded. You have persevered through extraordinary times, managed to keep your eye on your prize, and you are now reaping the rewards of maintaining your focus during the COVID-19 pandemic. I know it hasn't been easy. We would all have preferred to have been back on campus, sitting in lecture rooms, visiting the library, or meeting face-to-face with supervisors. There is such unique energy about being on campus. The slapping sounds of dominoes hitting with tables in the cafeteria, the laughter when sitting on the steps of the library with your friends, and even the endless search for parking. I'm confident that one day, hopefully not too far in the future, we will experience all of this once again and perhaps have a greater appreciation for what we used to consider normal. Today, I want to talk to you about what it means to be free. Just a few days ago, we celebrated our freedom from apartheid with Freedom Day. It is a day meant to mark a decisive departure from what went before: oppression, a fundamental absence of human rights, and equality for all. The day that Madiba stood at the Union Buildings in Pretoria in May and took the oath of office was a moment that older folks like myself will never forget. That day we smiled until our cheeks hurt. We laughed with sheer amazement at the banishment of apartheid and that we as the Rainbow Nation would work together to transform South Africa. A few weeks before, on 27th April, we had queued with our neighbors, friends, and strangers, and we were patient, hopeful, and grateful to be able to cast our vote for the time in our lives. Many of you had not been born yet, and because you were not apartheid's children, a term was coined for you, the born frees. This implied that you, the post-apartheid generation, would not carry the burden of those who had come before you. We were wrong, because far too many of you have felt those burdens. You might not have been forced to carry a dompas, be restricted to segregated living spaces, or attend racially designated schools and churches, but you've had to endure many inequalities, including the struggle to get to this university. We know now, 27 years after Madiba became president, that the real apartheid has not been vanquished and that equality has been restricted to the powerful as opposed to being extended to all people. It means that in the year 2021, we have citizens who still don't have houses, who have to endure the indignity of the bucket system, and whose children are as oppressed as they were. It is very clear that our long road to freedom is far from over, and it is a journey in which we should all be active participants. You, our very latest class of UWC graduates, have a vital role to play as members of civil society and as individuals with the agency to inspire change. Your triumph here today is not yours alone. It must serve as a source of inspiration to the children in the suburbs, in the townships, and in the villages from where you come. In your certificate, diploma, and degree lie immense power, because it says that you can transcend your background, and the circumstances of your upbringing. If you can inspire one child to do the same and perhaps help him or her along the way, you will have made a huge difference. As you leave this virtual graduation and rightfully take pride in your accomplishments, remember that you too can make a fundamental difference, because our country is still filled with potential and we must work together to fulfill it. Finally, graduates of UWC, thank you for choosing this university, and thank you to your parents and loved ones for supporting you throughout your academic careers. We are very proud of you and know that you will be worthy ambassadors of this great university of ours. I thank you.
I first stepped on stage when I was 11 years old. I can remember the thrill of it and the effect it had on me. I was just a shy boy from Lwandle Township, but up there on that stage I became a different person. I stepped out of my own life and problems and stepped into someone else's shoes. When you grew up in a township, you can feel pretty unseen and unheard, but up there on that stage, I found a voice. All this time later, that's what I still love about theatre, how it can take the unheard and unseen parts and people of our country and put them in the spotlight. It's why I've taken the academic route that I have, getting my doctorate in anthropology as means to better understand theatre and its effect on society. I'm particularly interested in the way theatre has been used to exclude certain groups of people in the past, but also how it's been and can still be a potent catalyst for change and for inclusion too. That's why I do what I do, and why I started my own theatre company too. Because I believe that theatre should not be for the elite few, but for everyone. With so many stories and cultures that have yet to share in the spotlight, our work is far from over. Through my studies at UWC, I've been exposed to some of the best minds in the business. I've had the opportunity to study abroad as an exchange student in the Netherlands. So to have my mind and views enlarged and enriched, and to take everything I've learned and teach it back to others through my theatre company. One day, I hope to be part of starting an inclusive performing arts school, one that recognizes that there's space for us all on stage.
By the authority vested in me, I shall now admit the candidates who are presented to me and appear in the graduation booklet to degrees, diplomas, and certificate in the university.
Mr. Evans Boadu, PhD is on tackling the two dilemmas of tradition and modernity, especially the intersection of participatory monitoring and evaluation in social policy in the African continent. The candidate pursued the need for synergy between the two paradigms, arguing that both paradigms can coexist and can be interfaced for added value in governance. His work is an original, valuable, and brilliant contribution to the decolonization of public administration, the discipline of monitoring and evaluation, but more specifically to indigenously responsive evaluation philosophies in the African continent. Evans developed an indigenous monitoring and evaluation framework, highlighting rich participatory forms of monitoring and evaluation practices in local governance and in indigenous communities. Congratulations.
Mr. Roddick Fayayo's study investigated the relationship which exists between two types of leadership, that is traditional and elected leadership in local government in the African context. Fayayo's focus was captured in the title of his dissertation, which focused on local government duality and its discontents. He used Matabeleland in Zimbabwe as a case study. Through an analysis of empirical and other data sources, Fayayo concluded that this relationship is unstable for various reasons. But he further found that the relationship is sometimes misconstrued. Drawing from his own findings, Fayayo proposed how the relationship could be improved without dismissing one type of leadership. All three examiners agreed that the dissertation deserves a pass and that it is a great contribution to scholarship.
The candidate Nelson Commander will now be introduced. This is titled The Development and Empirical Evaluation of a Counterproductive Work Behavior Structural Model in Selected Organizations in Zimbabwe. The candidate developed and empirically evaluated a model to explain the occurrence of counterproductive work behaviors on a sample of 304 participants drawn from both non-managerial and managerial security sector employees in Zimbabwe. Reasonable model fit was achieved through structural equation modeling. The results indicate significant positive relationships between ethical leadership, integrity, ethical climate, and work engagement. A significant positive relationship was also found between the match personality and counterproductive work behavior. The results confirm a significant inverse relationship between ethical climate and counterproductive work behavior. The structural model can be used as a tool to reduce the CWB problem at the organizational level.
The candidate Desiree Ann Hammond Fisher will now be introduced. Her PhD title is Transforming the Learning Environment, Closing the Theory and Practice Divide in an Industrial Psychology undergraduate module. Ms. Desiree Hammond Fisher's PhD study was about the learning and teaching of third-year undergraduate students in an industrial psychology module. The objective was to bridge the gap between theory and practice and simultaneously decolonize the module's curriculum. She used a critical emancipatory educational action research design and applied a situated learning intervention strategy. The contribution to the creation of new knowledge is twofold. Firstly, the findings contribute to the existing literature on the theory and practice divide in industrial psychology. Secondly, they respond to the appeal for academics at tertiary institutions to develop a learning and teaching strategy that will cultivate students' workplace competencies while completing their respective degree programs.
The title of the research is A Comparative Analysis Between Sharia-Compliant Portfolio Management versus Conventional Portfolio Management on Bursa, Malaysia. The study compared the conventional portfolio management with the Sharia-compliant portfolio management in terms of their performance and management practices on Bursa Malaysia Stock Exchange. The results revealed that the performance of the conventional and the Sharia-compliant portfolios was largely similar in different economic regimes, and the size and value factors were important factors that drive the performance of these portfolios. Historical sector compositions could be used efficiently to develop the optimal forward-looking sector allocation strategies for both portfolios. The research contributes to filling the current research gap in the knowledge about Sharia-compliant investment in financial markets and, specifically, the relative performance of conventional and Sharia-compliant portfolios.
The candidate, Jeremy Waiswa, will now be introduced. His thesis title, The Dwelling as Workspace, Urban Planning and Home-Based Entrepreneurs in Kampala City Slums. This thesis considers the challenges facing home-based enterprises in the slums of Kampala City in Uganda. It brings together 4 bodies of theory: Lefebvre on the production of space, James Scott on state legibility, Revalion on spatial poverty traps, and Clark on border theory, in an integrated analysis of the contested and gendered spatial politics of urban survival. This thesis shows how home-based entrepreneurs, in their struggle to survive, subvert the ordered spaces of modernity imposed by the state to create a legible field for urban government. In so doing, the thesis illuminates the rationalities of the urban state in Africa, the implications for the livelihoods of the urban poor, and how marginalized and vulnerable households survive in an unfavorable and precarious urban environment.
The candidate Kiara Worth will now be introduced. The title of her thesis is Government, Big Capital and the People, a fishy tale of power, influence and development in Hout Bay Harbour. This study is an analysis of power and its impact on achieving sustainable development, using a case study of a fish factory in Hout Bay Harbour, Cape Town. The analysis found that those in power divided in order to rule, defending a national state business coalition, and that the city deliberately withheld information in pursuing its objectives. Spaces for civic engagement were limited or ineffective, and democratic processes were manipulated by those in power, constraining civic action. These dynamics profoundly impacted harbour developments, which remain in stalemate. The thesis shows that understanding power is critical for decision-making. Failure to deal with the complexities of power can lead to missed opportunities to realise sustainable development.
My name is Michelle Esau, and I am the Dean of the Economic and Management Sciences faculty. On behalf of the EMS faculty, I extend a huge congratulations to all of you and to all those who supported you on this journey. The last year can probably be described as one of the most difficult years that any of us have experienced. Our lives and livelihoods were affected by something that none of us have experienced before. And it filled us with much fear, anxiety, and stress. Yet in spite of this dreadful and deadly pandemic, you managed to push forward and keep your focus on achieving your goal of obtaining a qualification. For this, you are applauded. You have shown immense determination, resilience, and adaptability. May these attributes stand you in good stead as you enter a new chapter of your life. God bless and keep safe.
This ceremony of the University of the Western Cape is now dissolved. Le nhlangano ye-University ye-Ntshona Koloni ngoku ifikelele esiphelweni. Hier vergadering van die Universiteit van Vaskapland wordt nou verdacht.
Hello, class of 2021. As part of our second virtual graduation ceremony, we have created these UWC graduation social media stickers and filters to share on your Instagram and Facebook stories. It's as simple as clicking on your story, snap a pic or create a video, select the sticker icon, search for UWC Grad, select your GIF, most importantly, tag UWC, hashtag UWC Grad 2021 and share. We cannot wait to see your fun UWC virtual graduation moments. Congratulations on your well-deserved success.